As mentioned, I'm Joy. I'm the 3D design lead at CLO Virtual Fashion. And actually before working in fashion or working for CLO, I worked in the fashion industry, helping large brands and small brands with their design process. So I'm just going to be talking about CLO today and how it's changing the way that we just do design in general. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Here we go here. So is everyone able to see my screen? Looks like some cool CLO imagery here. Okay. Okay, cool. So what is CLO? CLO is a 3D garment software that has been making huge waves in the entire design industry. And I truly believe that it's actually changing the way that we all are going to be doing design in the future, as well as how design is actually done right now in a lot of places. Now, CLO is an all-in-one 3D software that specializes in garment simulation. So with CLO, you can accurately visualize the fabric, fit, and silhouette of your designs as fast as you can imagine them. Now, I'm always excited to show this video here because it was actually completely made in CLO by my colleague Tambo. So in CLO, you're not limited by your traditional resources or the tools that you need to be able to create a design in real life. All of the steps needed to be able to conceptualize this out is right at your fingertips within the software, from the tools needed to drape, sew, all the way to materials, colors, graphics, presentation, and even production-ready tools are all in the software ready to bring your designs to life. Now, the cool thing about CLO is that any designer of any skill set can actually work in it. For example, you can actually work with something called the 3D pen tool to draw on a form and extract workable patterns right from those drawings without actually having to have any pattern knowledge. Or you can actually import patterns and sew them just like how you would in real life. And you can also draft patterns from scratch for your more technically minded designers. So at any point in the process, you can be as detailed as you like. Now, one of the coolest things in CLO is that you can actually save out different elements and start to work modularly, combine assets, manipulate or modify assets to get your desired look. You never actually have to start from scratch, and you can start to actually build out your entire asset library. Now, CLO is a highly interactive software, so you can add different iterations, add things like ruffles, change the fabrics, textures, prints. You can see all of this happening in real time. So for designers that might not have as much of a pattern knowledge or understanding, they can actually make more informed decisions and start to become better designers because they can understand what every change is actually doing to their garment here. So you can literally create unlimited possibilities and concepts in CLO without ever having to cut another piece of fabric. And this can be extremely helpful especially when we're talking about making informed decisions before it's created in real life. For example, with CLO, you can actually improve your communication with vendors. Designer and vendor communication gets significantly better because it can eliminate the sample waste. You can communicate the details that you would like fast and efficiently. Now, before, a designer would need multiple samples to confidently make decisions on things like fabric choice, pocket placement, graphics, sleeve length, etc. But now CLO has a whole full built-out library of technical tools so that a designer has everything they need to communicate callouts and adjustments in real time. And with each garment, designers are able to have more freedom and information to be fully confident in what they're trying to create. And with all these tools, designers are able to design for a multitude of categories across the entire design industry. We have designers that are creating things from your typical contemporary wear all the way to complex outerwear pieces, from the fur to the fill. And we have designers making more bespoke clothing, getting into couture, or those delicate pieces like lace. And taking it even a step further, designers have taken those lace work and being able to create intricate innerwear pieces such as lingerie. On the other end of the spectrum, we're even seeing designers take this into performance wear and be able to create and simulate complex garment pieces, as well as taking it to packs, equipment, and more of the industrial route. And because CLO is a 3D software, it communicates seamlessly with other 3D platforms to be able to bring in those hard model files to really conceptualize that full industrial concept. And even recently, we're starting to see designers that are getting into footwear in CLO as they're starting to pattern out the shoe upper in CLO. They hard model the sole and they combine those two in 3D. then they're able to 3D print out the sole and print out the patterns from CLO and actually start to prototype the shoes themselves at home. But even beyond apparel, designers are using CLO for things like home goods. They're using plush toys, dolls, anything that's pattern-based is what designers are actually starting to use CLO for. And one of the coolest things that I've actually seen the software being used is eliminating kind of the fear that designers have with design. They can now freely try out other categories they weren't sure about without worrying about if they're going to mess up or waste materials. CLO designers also have more access to information and tools needed to understand construction, form, drape, and make more informed decisions faster. And beyond real life tools, CLO also has tools exclusive to themselves, such as fit maps, being able to see in real time the stress and strain of the materials on the avatar. If are certain poses taking that material to its absolute limit. These are things that we need to know ahead of time before we even start to cut the fabric out. And to complete the entire life cycle, designers are taking this even further where they're putting in all this work to be able to create their concepts. But now with CLO's internal render engine, they're actually able to tell their full story. So designers are bringing in custom avatars, creating poses, scenes, setup, and lighting. And we're seeing a lot more interesting product lines, as well as that you can bring in custom avatar sizing, custom avatar shapes, all kinds of things like that. So that's just generally what you can actually do in the software, just kind of a quick synopsis and overview. But how does the software actually work, or how does it actually function? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all kind of a demo overview of how something like this jacket here would actually get made in a typical workflow. So when you open up the software, it's actually going to look like this. You're going to have your layout, just like it looks pretty familiar to a lot of workflows. But when you come in here, the first thing that I like to do is just bring in an avatar into the space. Now, typically, you want to bring in the avatar for your product category. CLO does come with a library of avatars for men's, women's, children, as well as maternity. You can also bring in custom avatars or customize out the CLO avatars, such as the sizing. CLO also comes with a library of sizes that are all industry standards, so you can just use presets if you like. Now, we're going to bring in pattern pieces, and you can create patterns in CLO, or you can load these in if they're pre-made, whatever workflow works for you. And then you can be really quick about this and actually start to use the auto sewing tool to sew this right up, so you don't even have to worry about knowing how to sew. Now, at any point, you can edit the garment or the patterns however you like. You can start to pull things down in the 2D window or the 3D window, and you can see how they're kind of separated between the two. Now, there's tools for designers that are more freeform like myself, who prefer to just pull at the sleeve like so and just adjust it. And they can see how that new length would look, and you can see that updating in real time. Or if you're more technically minded and want to be specific, more like a pattern maker or tech designer, then you can use much more precision tools in the pattern making or the pattern editing tools that come with CLO. And so you can tell it exactly how far you would like a sleeve to come down, how you would like that sleeve to cinch in. Now, construction in CLO is pretty similar to real life. So when you are making design edits and choices, you essentially want to construct this like how you would do a garment in real life. So if you want to add a zipper in here, you would essentially make room for a zipper, tell CLO how wide you would like that zipper to be, and get that in place. Now, you can actually bring in pre-built assets as well. So if you built out some patterns ahead of time or you're using them on another project, you can always just load those in as a completed block file and just sew that right onto your current project. So you don't actually have to worry about ever having to make things from scratch. If you built it out once, you can just save it out and keep using it across all your different styles. So I oftentimes like to do that with hoods here. But once you have your hood added and you're ready to add some other hardware, you can easily add some in. So like a zipper here. So adding a zipper, one of the ways to add a zipper is super easy. It's just a matter of clicking on a seam and telling CLO where you'd like that zipper to be applied. And CLO is going to auto-generate that hardware in for you. And these are all industry standards, so you can customize out the zipper sizing, the width, the zipper teeth, just like how it would be in real life. And so we'll get more into the customization of hardware trims later, but I'm actually going to go ahead and just adjust the zipper here. But once you have that hardware in place, it's holding up the garment, you can continue to pattern make and add to this garment at any point. So For example, if you wanted to create a placket, it's just a matter of measuring it out, adding in the placket length that you want, and sewing that right into place. So here, I'm just going ahead and just attaching the placket to where I want on the garment and creating a little bit of an offset there. So you can be as detailed as you want or as general as you want when it comes to design. And there are a whole host of tools to help you just get those places right into position how you'd like it. Now, we do know that plackets are multi-layered and they usually have some stitch details to help them out. So you can go ahead and make those very quickly by just drawing where you like stitch details to be. You can add interfacing or fusing, and you can create multiple layers by easily just copying the layer and making duplicates. And if you want to make seams, you can draw in the 3D window, make those seams wherever you would like. You can delete seams. And if you want to make seams in the 2D side instead, you definitely can work. So these two windows work hand in hand. You can either go back and forth from 3D to 2D, whatever works for you. Oftentimes, we'll see designers actually going back and forth between the two of them because they work intuitively together. And you can get as detailed as you want with those seams. You can create facings by just duplicating layers underneath each other and make additional edits. And at any point, you can jump back. So you can see I'm actually going back and forth here to be able to add additional garment edits. I realized I actually wanted to add something at the bottom. You can definitely do that for, say, elastics or cuffs. You don't have to have your whole concept thought out right at the start. So I'm just going to add in some additional elastic details here to get that waistband how I'd like. Also go ahead and add the elastic for the cuff. Now there's different methods or ways to do any kind of setting you want. So if you want to add elastic one way versus another way, you can achieve whatever you're trying to go for with a multitude of different workflows. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that elastic on there. Now, the great thing is you can actually see how I'm adding a bunch of elastic on this sleeve, and I'm kind of going through different steps trying to get it to how I want. I'm not sure if the strength is good enough or if I want it to be a little bit looser, but once I'm done and I get the work done to how I'd like, I can just copy all that work over to the other side. So I don't actually have to worry about making that whole sleeve and the cuff again. I'm just copying and pasting it, and Chloe knows exactly where it needs to go. I'm going to also add in some surface details here, such as a pocket flap. Now, for the sake of this demo, I'm essentially just going to make a pocket flap. But if you wanted to build out the entire pocket construction on the inside, as well as linings, facings, you can definitely do that in CLO. So you can get as detailed as you want with this project here. But for you all, I'll just go ahead and just make the flap. You can actually see I messed up there. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo. You don't have to start over. A lot of times designers might think they have to just start over if they make a mistake. You can always undo. If there's a history, you can always go back to where you were and just correct your mistakes whenever. Now, the last things we're going to add in for the details here is this little zipper. I'm just going to go ahead and cut out a space for that zipper. And just like before, add the zipper into the position of where this needs to be. And just like that, we have the zippers in place. We also have the pocket flap. Looks like overall our garment is complete. So at this point, I usually like to move on to adding materials onto the garment. Now you can add materials at any point, but I usually like to wait till after I'm done constructing. Now, CLO does come with a library of about 70 default fabrics that you can use. These have all been digitized from fabrics in real life. However, CLO also has an online platform called Closet Connect that has a whole library of vendors that have uploaded their own digital fabrics as well, where you can actually load in the fabric into CLO. And then this is a fabric that exists in real life. And you can have that fabric actually made for your project. But all of the fabrics in CLO come with the material properties, surface properties. You can get really into the weeds and the details of those fabrics. And when you add a fabric onto your garment, it's just a matter of dragging and dropping, and you can actually see how that material property actually is updating the garment in real time. So this fabric did come in as a default of white here. You can customize all the fabrics. Before I do that, I'm actually going to update my avatar's pose. He was in more of a working pose. I want him to relax a little bit here. So once you have your garment or your avatar in the pose you'd like, you can save that. You can also customize all the poses. So for example, if you wanted to create custom poses, save those out and use them for all your different projects. Now, back to those fabrics, you can customize all the fabrics however you'd like, from the color to the finish of it. CLO does come with a library of default colors. It comes with a Pantone color library that is updated always to the latest library books. It also comes with YKK color palettes, and you can load in your own color palettes as well. So this is those Illustrator color palettes, ASC, CCO, ACO, all of those are compatible with CLO. And like I mentioned, you can also update the finish. So you can make it a silk satin, metallic foiling, however you want that finish of the material to look. You can definitely fully customize that out. I'm actually going to adjust this here. I think I'm going to go ahead and put this, okay, we're going to adjust the reflectivity. I think we're just going to leave it on matte here. But once you have your fabric added onto your garment, you can actually take this even further with the material customization, such as customizing those hardware and trims. So as I mentioned earlier, you can customize out the zippers. You can bring in any sort of hardware file. This is an OBJ, FBX, any type of trim file you want if you have a custom one, or you can customize out clothes. The good thing about the closed zipper files is you can edit the teeth, the tape, you can change the teeth and how they look. You can make them metallic. You can add different metallic finishes to it, however you want to achieve. And also CLO comes with a library of zipper heads. So this includes the slider and the puller. However, you can always load in your own custom one if you have a custom zipper slider you want. YKK is also in the software as well, and Closet Connect has a whole library of custom trims from different vendors as well that can be easily loaded right into your project. So here I'm just going to go ahead and update some of those metallic properties. But once you have your zippers added or any trims that you want, you can also go ahead and add in other details such as your top stitching, your graphics. I'll just show you how you actually add top stitching. So top stitching is as easy as sewing. It's just a matter of clicking on seams and telling CLO where you want top stitching to actually go. And top stitching does come in as a default of white, but you can, and a single stitch, but you can actually customize that to what you'd like. Now, all of the customizations include, say, the thickness, the spacing, the SPI length, the unit type. So by default, it's using text, which is an industry standard top stitching type, but you can update that to whatever your workflow is. Also, CLO does come with a library of industry standard top stitching that is fully built out with the front and the back of the top stitching. So you have your overlock stitch, your safety stitches, all of that. Don't have to worry about building it yourself if you don't want to. You can always use the defaults and customize them from there. So I'm just adding top stitching around this hood here. It's very easy, just clicking on where I want the top stitching to go, right on that facing on the top. There we go. And I think we're going to add a little bit more to the bottom around that waistband. And you can be really precise with where this top stitching is actually going. You can also, I'm just doing something called segment top stitching, where it's the entire section getting added at once, but you can tell CLO if you would like it to only go part of the way or start and stop at a specific part. As precise as you want to get, CLO will let you do that. So we're going to add some to this pocket flap, and I'm doing a 2 needle stitch on pretty much all of this. There you go. We'll add some more here onto the zipper. There you go. I think we're all done with the top stitching now. Okay. So once you have your top stitching added, we can move on to adding some graphics. Now, graphics are super easy to add. It's just a matter of bringing in a JPEG file, PNG file, Illustrator file, or a Photoshop file, and you can just throw that right on top. Now, you can do pretty much any kind of graphic in CLO, such as embossments, embroideries. You can do denim washes, or any sort of silk screen. So here I'm just doing a quick silk screen graphic. It's just going to go on top, and I'm going to customize out this graphic. I want it to have some sort of foiling effect. I want to test out a color, but I think I'm going to add a metallic foiling to this graphic instead. So there you go. Super easy to customize, and you can get as detailed as you want with these graphics. I'm just going to keep mine simple for this demo here. But these graphics can also be saved out, and you can use them for all of your different projects. So you can keep all your graphics consistent across all of your different garments that you create. So once you have a graphic on, you have your top stitching, all your materials, garments looking good, you're pretty much done with your project here. But what I'd like to do is actually compare colorways of my garments. So I actually am going to go into our colorway editor to be able to create all the different colorways I'd like. Now, as you can see in the colorway editor, you have all of your different assets that are in the current project, such as your top-stitch chain, graphics, fabric colors, all of that. And when you create a colorway, all it is just a matter of telling Chloe you would like a second colorway. So what it's going to do is copy your colorway, and then you can continue to edit from there. So if you want to make a colorway that's, say, a yellow color like this one, or update multiple assets at once to a new color, you can just hold Shift, multi-select, or add any colorway you want. Now, I'm actually going to add a print to one of my colorways. Prints are the same deal as graphics. It's those PNGs, JPEGs, Illustrator files, or Photoshop files. Super easy, just a matter of dragging and dropping right on your garment, and you can scale it however you want, rotate it, reposition it, get into an engineered print. Now, there are a whole host of tools for precision placement for those graphics, those prints, in Clo that I'm not going to go through today, but there's something called print layout mode where you can actually see the whole print or all of the patterns on a roll of fabric with that print and see how much it's consuming. So if you want to get an engineered print, you can see if it's actually worth the engineering to see how much fabric it's using to be able to achieve that. And you can print out that layout as well onto a plotter if you wanted to just start making it on that engineered print. But now that I have my colorways made looking good, I'm actually going to go in and make more of a traditional CAD render here. So a lot of designers like to stay traditional with their CADs. They like having the Illustrator flats. Clo does have a mode called schematic render that allows you to convert your 3D model to almost like a 2D CAD drawing. Now, this is going to be more accurate than your traditional CADs because it is one-to-one scale with your actual patterns. So you don't have to worry about proportion distortion when communicating that to vendors or anyone who else who's going to use this project. And you can add in as much detail to this as you would like. And I'm just going to add in 3 different colors. But yeah, there's schematic render there. Now, Clo does have a ton of production-ready tools that you can get into the weeds about in here, such as seam allowances, point of measure, bill of materials, all of that. But when you are ready to show your project for presentation, I like to use something called the render engine. So Clo's internal render engine is going to create a high-resolution image from our 3D model here. And I can control everything within this render engine. So I can control the lighting, I can control the background, everything. Clo does come with default light setups that you can use, such as Studio High Contrast, which is going to actually give your garment more of a high contrasted lighting dynamic setup. But Clo does come with a whole library of lights that you can use to create your own custom light setup. You can also change the background. You can do whatever kind of image you like. And really, you're only limited by your own imagination when it comes to this render here. Now, I'm going to add in a shadow here just to give it some more dynamic looks. One of my favorite things, though, about the render engine is I like being able to bring in something called an environment map. Now, an environment map or an HDRI map is something where you can bring in real-life lighting into the scene. This is perfect for designers that actually want to see how their product is going to look through the eyes of the consumer. How is it going to look in the afternoon? How is it going to look outside? You can bring it into environment maps and actually test it out in different times of day, different lighting setups, and really make this like it would be in real life and get more information. So this is my favorite part about the render engine here. But to create a render, it's super easy. You just tell it to create the render. You can render out images like I have here, or you can do 360 videos, or you can do full-on animations in this render engine as well. So this is pretty much where your project is complete. When you are done, you can upload it to our online sharing platform called Closet, and that is basically like a Google Drive PLM kind of hybrid where designers can communicate their ideas. So I'm going to go back to my presentation now. Now that we've seen how the software works, what's in store for the future of design? Since I said it is changing the way we actually do design in the future. Well, right now, the majority of the fashion industry has this major shift towards digital design. And most of the major retailers in the US actually do work very closely with Clo. The cool thing about this is we actually are starting to see really cool collaborations between creatives that were not usually in the fashion industry and fashion companies such as the Fabricant and Puma being able to make these really cool stories. And we even have things like Hugo Boss being able to use CLO renders or CLO assets to be able to combine it with an algorithm to be able to create different prints that they've developed themselves. And we're even seeing individual creators being able to work hand in hand with big agencies such as the Shudu and Balmain collaboration with CLO. And CLO works very closely with Pixelpool. We partner with them to be able to bring more resources and tools to designers to empower them further, such as giving them the ability to take it all the way to consumption level, such as being able to simulate how an actual showroom would look. They can get the costing, the layout, see how they want it to look, and users who come in and shop virtually. But the most important thing to CLO is its community, the community that CLO is building around 3D. It wants to give designers as much power as possible to make informed decisions for themselves. And we're already seeing a whole host of new designers, a new generation of creatives around the world that are making the most amazing, innovative things throughout the industry. We're also seeing the idea of creativity returning to lots of different fields across categories and different design processes where designers are just making things for fun beyond just having to make products. But CLO's ultimate goal is to virtualize every single garment on Earth, transform the way we actually produce and consume garments, and organize all of the garment-related data and make it useful for its users. So at the end of the day, CLO just wants to help out everyone, wants to make sure that everyone has the tools they need to succeed, that they're not limited by the tools or resources they have, and they can continue to design better for the world. That's pretty much a quick synopsis on an overview of CLO. I'm excited to see if any of you want to use CLO. If you do create some cool things, definitely tag the CLO account so we can see what you create and design in the software. Thanks for watching my presentation today, everyone.